Welcome to your custom deep dive. When you walk into a modern pharmacy or like a health food store, there is this overwhelming expectation of these hyper-specific, almost surgical solutions.
Oh, absolutely. It's very compartmentalized.
Right. I mean, you have a headache, you buy a pill specifically formulated to block those exact pain receptors. You want stronger hair, you buy a biotin gummy.
Mm,
Or, if you feel tired, you buy a highly concentrated synthetic energy shot. It's all very point and shoot.
it is, and that's really the defining characteristic of the modern wellness landscape.
Mhm.
We've been thoroughly conditioned to view our biology as, well, just a series of isolated mechanical failures.
Yeah, requiring isolated synthetic interventions,
Exactly. We treat the human body less like a complex ecosystem and more like an automobile that just needs a specific replacement part.
which, I mean, works great for acute issues.
Sure.
But then you step into the world of traditional diets and holistic nutrition, and that point-and-shoot model just completely shatters.
It really does. It doesn't apply there at all.
Suddenly, you're surrounded by these sweeping grand claims where one single plant is supposedly going to revolutionize your entire physiological baseline. The noise is just deafening.
It's very difficult to separate biological reality from clever marketing. When a botanical is touted as a cure-all, the immediate rational response is heavy skepticism.
Exactly. And that brings us directly to the material we're examining today. We have a comprehensive guide titled Moringa Magic Benefits Explained, From Digestion to Heart Health.
A very bold title.
Very bold. We're looking closely at moringa, which is a plant that constantly circulates through the wellness sphere and is almost aggressively dubbed the miracle tree. So, okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
With so many supposed superfoods trending on this endless loop every single week, how do we separate genuine foundational nutritional value from just a really slick marketing campaign?
That is the core issue, yes.
Right. Does a comprehensive supplement like this Moringa Magic actually warrant a place in your daily routine? Or are we just staring at another passing fad?
That is the crucial question. And our goal today isn't to look for magic because, well, biology doesn't operate on magic.
Right. No magic wands in the human body.
No, biology operates on mechanisms. So we are going to strictly examine the physiological mechanisms of nutrition today.
To see what it's actually doing.
Exactly. We need to understand exactly how one single plant can act as a comprehensive multi-nutrient and evaluate what those specific compounds actually do on a cellular level when introduced into your system.
Okay, let's start right at the biological foundation. Because before we can even begin to evaluate the physiological claims, we have to establish what this plant actually is.
We do.
Based on today's material, we are talking about the Moringa oleifera plant, which is native primarily to parts of India and Africa. So this isn't some new synthetic compound synthesized in a lab last year.
Far from it.
Right, it has centuries of traditional application. And what stands out immediately is just the sheer resourcefulness of its use. I mean, nearly every component of the plant, from the leaves to the pods to the seeds, is utilized.
It is incredibly resourceful. But while the entire plant has uses, the leaves are really the primary focus of the nutritional analysis here.
Okay, why the leaves specifically?
Well, the environment Moringa oleifera evolved in is key. Plants that thrive in harsh, arid climates often develop these highly concentrated phytochemical defenses just to survive.
Oh, interesting. So the tough environment makes them stronger.
Precisely. When we look at the biochemical makeup of moringa leaves, we see the result of that evolutionary pressure. It is an exceptionally dense concentration of vitamins A, C, E, and the B complex.
Wow.
It also contains essential minerals like iron, calcium, and potassium. And crucially, it contains a robust profile of antioxidants and a complete array of essential amino acids.
Wait, I need to pause on that because that's a massive claim. Getting a complete amino acid profile from a single leafy plant is highly unusual.
It's very rare in the botanical world, yes.
Yeah, because usually we are told to mix rice and beans or, just rely on animal proteins for that. So if I'm conceptualizing this for the listener, I don't want to use that tired old Swiss Army knife cliche.
Please don't.
Right. Instead, I'm picturing this less like a single tool and more like a biological symphony.
I like that analogy.
Because when you take a highly targeted synthetic vitamin, you're just hearing one solo instrument. But moringa seems to be playing chords, like a fully integrated network where the vitamins, the minerals, and the amino acids are all interacting simultaneously.
A biological symphony is a highly accurate way to frame it. You're describing nutritional synergy.
Nutritional synergy. Okay, break that down for me.
When you consume an isolated synthetic vitamin, your body often struggles to absorb it efficiently because it lacks the cofactors that naturally accompany it in food.
Ah, so it needs its buddies to get to work.
Exactly. Nature doesn't produce vitamin C in a vacuum, but when you consume a complex matrix of nutrients that evolve together in a single leaf, your body recognizes that matrix. The absorption pathways are already optimized for it.
That makes total sense. But I have to throw a flag on the terminology being used in this guide.
Go right ahead.
The text repeatedly refers to it as the miracle tree. And, I mean, doesn't that actually do the plant a massive disservice? To a savvy listener, hearing the word miracle immediately triggers alarm bells.
It absolutely does.
It sounds like snake oil. It sounds fundamentally unscientific. Why do we tolerate this kind of mystical branding for what is ultimately just botanical data?
I completely agree with your skepticism, and it's a perfectly valid critique of the wellness industry. Using mystical language is just a cheap tactic to sell products.
Right. It feels cheap.
Because there's nothing magical or miraculous about moringa. It is simply a highly efficient biological fact. The only thing remotely remarkable is the statistical rarity of finding this specific, dense concentration of foundational elements in one single botanical location.
So it's rare, but it's not magic.
Exactly. It functions beautifully as a natural multi-nutrient simply because it contains the structural components your cells require to function, not because it defies the laws of physics.
I appreciate that clarification. It really grounds the conversation. So moving from the biochemical makeup to the actual human experience, because if you're going to add something to your morning routine, you want to know what it's going to actually do to your body today.
Of course. Practical application is what matters.
Right. And the material points heavily toward immediate impacts on the gut. And digestion is this silent, massive issue that dictates so much of our daily comfort.
Digestion is the absolute cornerstone of systemic health. I mean, if your gastrointestinal tract is compromised, literally everything else downstream suffers.
Yeah, you just feel awful all over.
So how does moringa help with that?
Well, the analysis shows that moringa leaves contain a specific ratio of soluble and insoluble fibers alongside a unique profile of plant compounds.
And these elements work sequentially. The insoluble fiber provides bulk to support regular bowel movements.
Keeping things moving, basically.
Right, regular motility. While the plant compounds help modulate the gut environment itself. The goal here isn't to force a harsh, sudden clearance like you'd get from a chemical laxative.
Nobody wants that.
No. The physiological objective is to create a balanced environment. A gut that is neither chronically sluggish nor highly inflamed and sensitive. It reduces that occasional bloating people struggle with.
And the downstream effect of that gut motility connects directly to baseline energy, right? Because the guide reports that regular consumption leads to consistent vitality and a significant reduction in that dreaded midday fatigue.
Yes, the midday slump.
Crucially, though, it says it does this without the aggressive crash you get from a massive dose of caffeine.
That's true. And understanding the mechanism behind that difference is vital. You see, caffeine doesn't actually give you energy.
Wait, really? It feels like it does.
It's an illusion. It merely blocks the adenosine receptors in your brain that tell you you're tired. It is a central nervous system stimulant.
So it's just muting the alarm bells.
Exactly. Moringa, conversely, is providing cellular nourishment. It is supplying the actual ATP precursors your cells need to generate true metabolic energy.
Okay, let me try a different analogy for that because I think people completely misunderstand their coffee habit.
Let's hear it.
Relying on caffeine is basically like putting a brick on your car's gas pedal, right?
Yeah.
You're just forcing the engine to rev until it burns out.
Yes, an artificial forced output.
But Moringa is more like giving your car a premium oil change and a full tank of high-grade fuel. It's nourishing the system so it runs better naturally.
That analogy is biochemically spot on, and that steady supply of high-grade fuel is further supported by Moringa's interaction with glucose.
Oh, blood sugar.
Right. The active compounds, when integrated into a balanced diet, support the regulation of healthy blood sugar levels.
Which is huge for energy.
Absolutely, because when your blood sugar remains relatively flat, you prevent the massive insulin spikes that follow a carbohydrate-heavy meal. It is that subsequent plunge in blood glucose that creates the systemic crash and those intense cravings for sugar in the mid-afternoon.
But I'm going to push back hard here because I think a lot of listeners are going to bump into the exact same problem I'm having.
Okay, what's the problem?
If this plant isn't giving you a synthetic rush and it isn't jolting your nervous system like a double espresso, how does someone actually know it's working? I mean, if the effect is just cellular nourishment and stabilized glucose, doesn't the benefit feel completely invisible?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to fundamentally redefine what working feels like in the human body.
Redefine it how?
Because we are so deeply conditioned by the aggressive jolt of synthetics, we equate feeling a sudden drastic difference with efficacy. We think, if my heart isn't racing, the supplement failed.
Right. We want to feel the buzz.
But physiological normalcy isn't loud.
It's silent.
Exactly. Recognizing that a botanical like moringa is working is entirely about recognizing what is suddenly absent from your day.
Oh, wow. I love that.
It's the distinct absence of that debilitating 2 p.m. brain fog. It's the absence of uncomfortable gastric bloating after lunch. I mean, think about it. If your intestinal villi are inflamed, nutrient absorption plummets.
And when that happens?
When absorption plummets, your overall metabolic energy tanks no matter how much caffeine you consume. By optimizing the gastrointestinal tract and flattening the glucose curve, the primary evidence of efficacy is simply a quiet, sustained feeling of resilience.
So you don't feel a high, you just realize at the end of the workday that you aren't completely exhausted.
That's it, exactly.
That is a massive paradigm shift. You aren't looking for a high, you were looking for the absence of a low.
Yeah.
I can see why that requires a bit of patience from the consumer.
It does. It requires a mindset shift.
But that covers the immediate daily experience. You know, the gut, the baseline energy, the blood sugar. The guide then zooms out to examine the systemic, long-term protections Moringa offers. And here's where it gets really interesting.
Yes, the long-term defense.
Because the core of this systemic protection centers on a physiological process we hear about constantly, but I feel like we rarely actually understand: oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress is essentially the biological tax we pay for living.
Biological tax, I like that.
Your body is constantly bombarded by stressors, things like environmental pollution, heavily processed dietary fats, UV radiation, and honestly, even just the normal byproduct of your own mitochondria producing energy.
So literally just existing causes this stress.
Precisely. And these processes generate unstable molecules called free radicals. A free radical is simply a molecule missing an electron.
Okay.
And because it's unstable, it violently bounces around your system, stealing electrons from your healthy cells, your proteins, and your DNA.
Yikes. So that theft causes the cellular damage.
Yes. And when that damage accumulates over decades, it drives the fundamental aging process and systemic degradation.
So if I'm visualizing this, we have these tiny biological tornadoes tearing through the neighborhood of our cells, ripping the roofs off houses just to stabilize themselves.
That is a very vivid but accurate way to picture it.
And that's where the antioxidants in Moringa step in. The material specifically highlights antioxidants like quercetin and chlorogenic acid. So rather than looking at antioxidants as some vague health buzzword, they're actually stepping in to stop these tornadoes.
Precisely. If free radicals are the tornadoes, antioxidants are the ultimate biological shock absorbers.
Oh, shock absorbers.
An antioxidant is uniquely structured to safely donate an electron to a free radical without becoming unstable itself.
Oh, wow. So it just hands over the missing piece.
Yes. It neutralizes the threat before it can damage the cellular architecture.
And the guide zeroes in on quercetin and chlorogenic acid, specifically for cardiovascular support. It points out that these compounds help maintain healthy cholesterol levels.
Yeah.
How exactly are they doing that? Is it just absorbing the damage in the arteries?
It's a bit more targeted than that. Chlorogenic acid is highly involved in lipid metabolism. It helps modulate how your body processes fats and sugars, which directly influences the lipid profile in your bloodstream.
Okay, so managing the fats. What about quercetin?
Quercetin, which is a powerful flavonoid, actively protects the endothelial cells, that's the lining of your blood vessels, from that oxidative damage we just discussed.
Protecting the literal lining of the heart's plumbing.
Exactly. By preventing the oxidation of LDL cholesterol, which is a primary driver of arterial plaque, these antioxidants are fundamentally supporting long-term vascular elasticity and overall cardiovascular wellness.
Okay, so I'm thinking of it kind of like a biological rust-proofing for the body's cells, defending against that daily wear and tear of modern life.
Rust-proofing is a perfect analogy for the vascular system.
But the text doesn't stop at the heart. It moves straight to the brain. And Considering the brain is basically the biggest energy hog in the human body, I imagine it generates a massive amount of oxidative stress just through daily functioning.
You'd be absolutely right. The brain consumes roughly 20% of your metabolic energy, despite being only 2% of your body weight.
That's crazy.
Furthermore, the brain is largely composed of lipids fats, and lipids are incredibly susceptible to oxidative damage, a process known as lipid peroxidation.
More biological rust.
Exactly. Because the specific antioxidants and amino acids in moringa are capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier, they act as a direct nutritional safeguard for those neural pathways.
So it's protecting the wiring.
Protecting the wiring.
Yeah.
By neutralizing free radicals within the neural environment, it reduces neuroinflammation, which is deeply correlated with brain fog and cognitive decline.
That's incredible.
But we must be absolutely clear about the nuance and the timescale here. This is not a temporary brain hack. It's not a quick fix to help you cram for an exam.
Right, it's not a smart drug.
No. This is a strategy for cumulative structural maintenance. You are investing in the long-term architectural integrity of your cardiovascular and cognitive systems.
Which is a perfect segue into the reality of actually using this stuff. Because if the Moringa oleifera plant is this biologically superior integrated symphony of nutrients, the logical conclusion is that we should all just go source some raw leaves, dry them out, and make a tea every morning, right?
Would be the purest approach, yes.
Right. But the guide heavily emphasizes the role of a specific branded product, Moringa Magic. It states that this product offers a consistent, ready-to-use, concentrated format that bypasses the difficult logistics of sourcing and preparing the raw plant yourself.
And that's a very important point. The logistical friction of utilizing raw, exotic botanicals in a modern schedule is vastly underestimated by purists. The preparation alone requires a significant daily time investment.
But I'm going to play the hardcore skeptic here because my radar is going off again.
I welcome it.
If the whole raw plant is so perfectly designed by nature, isn't buying a packaged branded tub like Moringa Magic just a surrender to modern convenience marketing? I mean, why shouldn't a dedicated listener just track down the raw ingredients?
Yeah.
Aren't we just paying a premium for a plastic scoop?
What's fascinating here is that question exposes a massive blind spot in theoretical wellness.
Oh. How so?
Well, yes, in a perfect frictionless vacuum, you could source raw moringa leaves, but you would need to personally verify the soil quality to ensure heavy metal absence.
Okay, true. That sounds hard.
Then you would need to dehydrate those leaves at a precise low temperature to prevent the degradation of the amino acids and the antioxidants. And then you'd have to grind and consume a large volume of them every single day just to hit that baseline.
Okay, yeah. That sounds like a part-time job.
It is a part-time job, and human behavioral psychology shows us that the greatest point of failure in any health regimen is a lack of consistency. We set these overly ambitious, labor-intensive goals, the process becomes tedious, and within 3 weeks, we quit.
We've all been there.
Exactly. The true value of a concentrated product like Moringa Magic is not that the powder inside is inherently more miraculous than a perfectly processed raw leaf. Its true value is the complete eradication of behavioral friction.
It makes it easy.
It makes it effortless. If we just establish that the biological benefits, the cardiovascular protection, the neural safeguarding, rely entirely on cumulative daily consistency,
Right.
then the delivery mechanism that ensures you actually consume it daily is, practically speaking, the superior method.
Oh, I see the angle now. It's a behavioral strategy, not just a nutritional one. The raw leaves might be great in theory, but they're going to wilt and rot in the bottom drawer of your fridge because you didn't have 20 minutes to prepare them on a Tuesday morning.
Exactly.
But the branded tub sitting right next to your water glass actually makes it into your system.
Precisely. We have to analyze these products objectively. By providing a biologically preserved, highly concentrated nutrient profile in an instantly accessible format, it bridges the massive gap between traditional botanical efficacy and the relentless reality of modern schedules.
So what does this all mean? Let's bring this all together and deliver a highly distilled recap for you, the listener. We've covered a tremendous amount of physiological ground today.
We certainly have.
We started by stripping away the miracle tree marketing noise to reveal the biological truth. Moringa is a deeply dense, synergistically integrated multi-nutrient packed with vitamins, minerals, and a complete amino acid profile.
The biological symphony.
Yes, the symphony. We saw how its immediate impact optimizes gut motility and stabilizes blood glucose, replacing the aggressive, high-interest payday loan of caffeine with quiet, sustainable cellular energy.
And we then examine the cellular mechanisms of long-term defense.
Right, the shock absorbers.
We looked at how antioxidants like quercetin and chlorogenic acid act as those biological shock absorbers against oxidative stress, actively protecting both the vascular architecture of your heart and the neural pathways of your brain over a span of decades.
And finally, we confronted the reality of human behavior. A product like Moringa Magic isn't a pharmaceutical shortcut or an overnight fix. It is an objective, practical, daily support tool designed to remove the friction of preparation. It's meant to improve your baseline health over time by making that vital consistency effortless.
It really represents a pragmatic compromise, honoring the profound complexity of natural evolutionary nutrition while acknowledging the logistical demands of contemporary life.
Exactly. So as we wrap up today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a final, slightly provocative thought to turn over in your own mind.
I love a good lingering thought.
We started this conversation by looking at our modern obsession with highly compartmentalized synthetic supplements, right? Taking one isolated pill strictly for headaches, a separate isolated capsule just for energy, another chemical solely for digestion.
The point-and-shoot method.
Right. But given the profound biological synergy we've just unpacked, what if the future of peak human wellness isn't going to be found in a laboratory discovering yet another isolated chemical?
It's an interesting question.
What if the true frontier of health is actually a return? What if it is simply relearning how to consistently access the deeply complex, synergistic, multi-nutrient plant networks that our ancestors already mastered? What if the ultimate fix isn't a new prescription, but finally remembering to invest in the biological symphony your cells have been waiting to play?